Hey everyone, thanks for coming down. Today I was going to talk about some parenting stuff. I don't want you to take this as like advice or anything. It's just stuff that I've experienced, stuff that I do, and you know, judge me if you want. Let me know what you think in the comments. I don't think I'm the greatest parent in the world. I think I have room to improve, and I think anybody who thinks they are a perfect parent needs a reality check. So, uh, I guess one of the big things with parenting would be discipline. There's back in, I guess norms have changed quite a bit, obviously, because back in like just say like the 30s or early 1900s, we'll put it that way, 100 years ago, disciplining your kids was a lot different than it is nowadays. You're not out there uh, getting the belt out, whipping your kid. Maybe you do. I personally don't, and I never have. Trying to be more mindful that your child is also a human that needs they're just trying to learn stuff. And yes, I do think that there's a little bit of not necessarily physical, but you need to get a point across to your child that they need to listen to you. And so establishing your dominance and your authority over them is not something that needs, well, it should be done as quick as possible, but it also is kind of an ongoing thing, especially as they get older. My daughter, when she was like 2, 3, she was, it wasn't, I want to say as bad, but I didn't have to do it as much. I'll put it that way. And, like I ask her to do something, she'd kind of be like, okay, whatever. But now she's getting to be a teenager and she respects my authority, sure, much more than she respects her mother. And that is something I've had to talk to her about. And also, just a quick side note, I can't remember if I mentioned this in one of my other videos, but I am what I guess would qualify as a single parent. Me and her mom, she's my ex-wife, sort of separated, and so she lives in a different house. I live here, and so there is the split time that we have with our daughter, and I don't really want to go into any big specifics on that. It's just she spends part of the time with her mom, she spends part of the time with me, and our daughter loves both of us. So I think that's good. It shows that we have done something right, whatever that something is. And because as a parent, you kind of just wing it, I guess. I think that, and this also kind of goes into a political-ish topic about there being the rise of single mothers. Not that they're like taking over or anything. It's just there's a lot more single mothers nowadays in terms of percentage of the population than there was 40, 50 years ago. And I think that has impacted our society. I think kids are not as disciplined, and mothers don't take offense to that. It There's different types of discipline and recognized authority coming from a male than there is from a female. And neither one is necessarily, bad over the other one. It's just people react differently. For example, at a job, uh, the it is typical to, if I have a female supervisor or if I have a male supervisor, my male supervisor, just the tone and just the way us men interact with each other, I'm going to be taking him, I won't say more seriously, but it will be a less casual conversation. And that's because I think women are more empathetic, which isn't a bad thing, kind of a good thing. Just and also that's on average, not you know, men can be empathetic too. We just handle things differently than women do, and I think everybody can agree with that. So neither side is bad. It's just we have different ways of doing things. And so where was I? Single mothers, yes. So I think the absence of a father in many homes. I think my situation is fairly unique, where our daughter gets to spend about equal time with both of us. Uh, but there is uh, that separation is still difficult for the child and for the parents. And my child's off with her mom. I miss her. I'll text her and uh, you know try and keep in contact. And then also when our daughter is with me, same thing with her mom. So I think that the argument that gets made about how the mother knows what's best for the child and she's the one who needs to be the nurturing, you know, whatever. I think, and this again, I kind of dancing around the subject. I know. I think that both parents have quality things to bring to the child's life. And, then there are the situations where either the mother is not necessarily doing great or the father isn't necessarily doing great. For example, like maybe they're an abusive alcoholic or, they're in and out of jail or they're addicted to drugs or stuff like that. That definitely has an influence on the child. In one of my previous relationships, uh, her mother was a drug addict and a recovering drug addict, and there was a lot of things that came up. Put it that way. So, uh, let's see. I guess I'll talk about like approaches to parenting. Discipline being, that's. I feel like that's a really big thing nowadays. Is kids just aren't disciplined the way they used to be, and I think I grew up, and even although I had my parents were together growing up. I feel very fortunate to have lived in that circumstance situation. Um, but I feel like I'm much more disciplined, and that my sisters are also much more disciplined than I see my daughter being. And I'm not necessarily going to blame her mom. I don't think I'm entirely at fault for that. I think there are things I could do better at disciplining my child, but you kind of just got to take it one step at a time. And there's no one way to do something when it comes to parenting. So, uh, my daughter, for example, I established that dominance very early on. She's, if I tell her to do something, she knows she's supposed to do it. And when she absolutely refuses to do the things that I ask her to do, I let her know that I don't yell at her. I just say, "I'm the adult, and you need to listen to me. I'm your dad. I do a lot for you, and you need to show some respect for me." So, not necessarily like belittling your child, because that's really bad. Even as adults, you don't like being belittled. So, children, I recommend do not. And not necessarily advice. I'm just saying from my experience, I feel like belittling your child is not the route to take. Um, but just letting them know that the behavior that they have is wrong and that they need to be acting differently. Don't necessarily tell them, step by step what they need to be doing differently. Just be like, you gotta be acting different. So like I said, hey, I'm the adult. You gotta listen. Go. For like doing the dishes or cleaning your room, something like that. Nagging your child, I feel like it that develops a not good relationship. Nobody likes being annoyed. I certainly don't. So if you annoy your child, um, I think that's not a good thing. Um, then I would also say, and I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments about like the co-sleeping, something like that. Sleeping in the same bed as your child. I am very against it. I think that your child develops a certain dependency on you, and which dependencies on you as their parent is good to some degree, but um, and also I really like my sleep, and the two times that I have was when my daughter was much younger. She was like three, 2, 3, 4, or something like that. where I did let her sleep in the same bed as me because she always slept in the same bed as her mom, which I think changed over time. But my daughter she was a kicker. She was a travel sleeper. It wasn't very nice. And so I like my sleep, and I want my daughter to feel like she can be alone by herself and she can be an independent person. And that's something that I've really strived for because growing up in the world that we live in, you do have like the I got to be in the strong independent woman kind of thing, which isn't entirely bad. I think that she just needs to be able to make choices and be a functioning member of society when she's older. If she's not so dependent on having someone else be there for her, incredibly dependent. I think everybody needs someone to have a shoulder to cry on or talk to about issues, things like that. Some common challenges, I think. I would say, yeah, discipline. I mentioned quite a bit about that. Uh, so this is something I've been running into that's hard for me to deal with. Is I guess I'm not really sure. I guess it's a challenge. So my daughter, she's getting older and she's wanted to spend more time with friends. And which, is great. I encourage her to have a social life and have friends and be a teenager and all that stuff. But it's hard for me because I only have her for a certain amount of time every week, and same with her mom. She's only with her mom for a certain amount of time a week. Uh, and then, so you take away from that time, and then also compare that to daughter was younger, or in your case, or whatever, your child was younger. That 2, 3, doing 2 and 3 up to like maybe 7 or 8 ish, maybe even like as old as 9, depends on your child. Um, where you feel like you have to be around your child to make sure that they're not burning the house down, kind of thing. Like I had during the pandemic, there were times where I had to work from home, and then I went back to working in the office. And when my daughter, uh, you know, it was really hard for me to leave her home during the day. I'd leave her home for like a half day. But leaving her home during the day, I was just worried that she was gonna like try and cook some soup or something, and then it was just gonna be this huge problem. Mind of a parent goes all over the place. You think the absolute worst right off the bat, like your child's dying, kind of thing. Uh, so getting used to her just growing up, being her own person. That's I miss those younger years, and I think every parent will agree that those younger years are you miss those. You super cherish that. Like even now, I feel myself trying to spend the time that I do spend with her. We're not we're not only playing video games or watching a movie, but we're almost always like we go out somewhere when we do spend time together when she's not interacting with her friends. So, like, we'll go out to the movies, go to the museum, we'll go out for ice cream, things where it's just very one on one, deliberate time, but not to where it's, like, so of the weekends plus a few more days that I have, or we'll have one day where we spend like all day together doing, whatever it is. We'll go out to lunch and then we'll come home, we'll play some video games, and then that evening we'll go to the movies. Just an example. Uh, so I think another common challenge that's facing a lot of parents is education, especially with how C-19 played out. Kids being at home having to learn and feel like education, the level of education and quality of education, I guess that's a better way to put it, that kids are getting just isn't what it used to be. And I actually had a meeting today with my daughter's teachers and principal about how my daughter's doing in school. She's doing very well, but there's the problem with work avoidance and motivation. So finding a way to motivate your kid is, I guess, is also a challenge. Kids are very, especially this generation, they really have that instant gratification, that need for it. They need that quick hit of dopamine kind of thing. And when you're sitting in a classroom for 45 minutes, 8 times a week, or 8 times a day, 8 or 9 times a day, depending on the school, um, then, well, anyway, yeah. Depends how your school is. Sitting in a classroom for X amount of time, expecting the child to keep their attention that entire time on one particular thing, I don't think that's very realistic. Um, my daughter is also a very hands-on person. She needs that one-on-one attention. She's very smart. She can learn very easily. It's just she needs to be able to understand it. I personally am actually kind of the same way. I think that's where she might get it from. So I don't know. Um, so practical. I got some things that I'm reading off here. You probably can tell. But some like practical advice here. I really don't want to give advice. I guess this practical advice, but more so just kind of like the. I would say it's just an experiences that I've had. So my daughter is a very um, del- deliberate isn't necessarily the right word. She's a very literal person. So, for example, and I actually use this example today with the teachers, that if I was to tell my daughter, we're sitting at the table and we're all done eating, and I said, all right, go put your plate in the dishwasher. And, the expectation there is that you take all of your stuff and your fork, knife, cup, plate, whatever, and you put it all in the dishwasher. Clear off your place. And so me telling my daughter, go put your plate in the dishwasher, please. She'll pick up her plate and she'll clean it off, but then she'll put it in the dishwasher. And then it's like, hey, you forgot to do the rest of it. And my daughter's response to me would be, well, you only told me to take my plate to the dishwasher. Like, well, yeah, but there was an implied, clear off your spot, dude. She's gotten better, and then the way that I kind of like navigated that was being very deliberate in what I'm and very forward with what I'm telling her and wanting her to do. Instead of saying, "Hey, put your plate in the dishwasher," it's like, "Can you clear off all of your?" It'd be like, "Clear off your place and go put it in the dishwasher." And she gets it. She's supposed to take everything there. Or I've also in the past specifically said, can you put your plate, fork, and cup in the dishwasher? And she'll go and do it. Sometimes she rolls her eyes and is like, about it, but she's also gotten better at not complaining. So that's good. um, I guess I'd also like to, well, I guess that was kind of a parenting win. Um, Something I feel like has really benefited the relationship between me and my daughter is we go out to ice cream every Sunday. We'll go sometime between lunch and dinner, so probably like 2, 3 o'clock ish. And sometimes we even just wait. We'll go to a whatever. We have Culver's here where I live, and so we'll go down and we'll get a hamburger, and then after we're done, we'll get ice cream. We'll either go in or we'll sit out in the car and talk about whatever. And I think that us going and spending that kind of time together where we're talking and we're sharing ideas and things like that, I think that's been really beneficial. And that's something I strive to do on a daily basis is just have um, like deep thought conversations with my daughter. And so if you find yourself struggling with trying to have that kind of a connection with your child, whether they're younger or they're older, maybe they're in their late teens, like that probably won't be too bad of a thing to do. and because it makes the child feel like you're actually paying attention to them and that you want to know about them, even if it's just that one day out of the time that you have them, like 1 day a week, 2 days a week. Just the child needs to be aware you actually care about them, and also like making sure that you follow through on promises. So if your child, they're going to go on a field trip or something, and you say that, yeah, I'll go with you, that you take the day off of work, or you make special arrangements to actually do that, and you don't let anything get in the way of you doing that. That is a lot of value to your child, that you keep your promises. And I'm the kind of person where if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And if I promise you, I've said this to a lot of people, it's like if I make a promise to you, expect it to be kept, because it will be. That's just who I am. Because I think reputation, and this goes with parenting, I think reputation is incredibly important, not only with your child, but also other adults, and especially your employer. So do that. Recommendation, not necessarily advice, I guess. I don't know. I guess maybe I'm giving advice. I'm not quite sure. Um, so I would say also, yeah, not yelling at your child. So I guess there's a difference, like raising your voice and then yelling and screaming. Like there's a difference between those two, and then raising your voice. I have raised my voice at my daughter a few times, um, and it's more so just like a very stern, like, "Yo, listen," not a going off on them, telling them about how they do all these horrible things, comparing them to their other parent. I don't do that, because that's not healthy for any relationship, and especially the relationship that you have with your child. Again, that's just my opinion. I'm not a licensed professional, and yeah, so just what's worked for me in the past. Uh, Also, speaking to your child like they're an adult. I've always treated I've always talked to her like she's an adult. Had the same expectations from her as I would from me talking. If I would like the conversation that I would have with an adult, I would expect that same uh, level of conversation with my daughter. And I think that is hard to do when they're younger, and that you kind of have to have this really quick transition out of it. But when your child is like a baby, they're like less than 2 years old, I would say, 24 months. I don't know, whatever. I think it's weird that they measure in months after they're a year old. I have a 36-year-old baby. Stupid stuff like that. Um, or a 36-month. Yeah. Well, anyway, whatever. So, talking to them like they're an adult. My daughter, I feel like she's a very mature person because I talk to her like she's an adult. I don't belittle her. I ask her questions like I would an adult. So if I start talking about something, or if I use a word, just say, "Hey, do you know what this word means?" Instead of being, trying to dumb down my language for her or something like that. I feel like that's kind of a disservice to the child when you switch the way that you speak to them. Just prepares them. It sets them up for success if you talk to them like they are an adult and not like you're just a baby. It also shows your child that, even, at least my opinion, it shows your child that even though you are the one who has authority over them, that you still respect them. And I feel like my experience in management at a restaurant, training people, really helped me improve in this area. Now, I'm not telling you that you should go and be a manager at a restaurant, because it was one of the worst jobs I've had. It was okay. It had its moments, but it's, that's the last job I had in the food industry, and that was 7.5 years ago. So, actually, was it? I can't remember when. Anyway, it was a while ago, and I'm never going back. So besides the point. But talking to them like they're a human, and then also uh, asking them why they did something instead of immediately punishing them. And then, so then creating a coaching opportunity as to like, why did you do this? Even if you're kind of saying it in like, a tone, being like, why did you do this? Let them explain their side of it. Say, okay, I understand why you did it. However, this is what's supposed to be done, and you need to do it that way. I know that can be kind of situational, but I think that that can be applied in several areas, and so that's something that's also worked out very well for me. Um, I'll just move down the list here. Oh, parenting. So like books and stuff. Um, I've never really been one for books on parenting. Although I will say there's this book, it's like five love languages. It's mainly geared towards your uh relationship with a significant other. So like your wife or husband or whoever. Uh girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. So that book teaches you how to express love to someone and making them what it takes for them to feel loved and what you can do to achieve that. Uh, so, whether that's gift giving or, acts of service, I forget what all of them are. Physical touch, there we go, and words of affirmation. And it's my daughter, words of affirmation and uh, quality time. Yeah, quality time. She likes both of those. And so that's what it takes for her to feel like someone cares about her. Totally justifiable. And yeah, so I recommend if I do have any advice to give to you in this video, that would be my biggest recommendation. Go read that. And if you already have read it, read it again. It's a great book. You'll find something new probably almost every time you read it. Um, also, yeah, and you know what? Let me know if you have any resources that you've used that aren't necessarily directed towards parenting, but kind of help you out in your parenting. Um, and because kind of like I mentioned, me being, interestingly enough, I feel like me being a manager really helped me out in being a better parent. Uh, Not that I was like lazy or anything like that. It was more so just learning how to interact with another human. Because I'm personally, I'm kind of not necessarily antisocial, but I'm not very social, and I do have some social anxiety, various different reasons. However, um, I think that well, so my job as a manager, what I was expected to do, I was expected to close the store, get everything all tidy and make it great for the people who open in the morning, and then also train all the crew people. So learning the different methods to teach someone something and how we can leverage that in a good way, to where it well, obviously, so it benefits not just the employee, but also everybody around them, and then the team as a whole. So, for example, and I think I'm going to go into this in one of my other videos, my management experience, because I think it could be super valuable to someone. Uh, so when I would train someone, we get this new employee. I wouldn't like friends with them, I guess. I would have a very strictly professional really, not like, "Hey, how's it going, bud?" kind of thing. Just be like, "Hey, those two guys, they're gonna teach you how to do your job. If you have a question about this, go to that girl over there. She can tell you all the things." And make it so that the team is the one training them specifically. And so then I would later come to that employee and I would just kind of watch what they're doing. And if they make any mistakes, I would then correct them. And so what this did is it helped the team as itself, made sure that they knew what they were doing, and then also, made sure that this teammate, this new teammate, understood how to do their job, and it led to more success. And anyway, I'll go over all that in a different video. So I think, well, I'll tell some funny stories from when I was, well, from when my daughter was younger, because I'm still a parent. Um, so my daughter, she would like, well, so like we'd go to the store, and she would just like run all crazy, and there was one time which she doesn't do this anymore, and corrective action was taken on this. Had some good coaching opportunities. She'd go run all over the place, and then she went into those circular things that they hang clothes on in like department stores like Target or Walmart. Well, not necessarily at Target anymore, but they have them at Walmart. Hang it, it's like the circle. Anyway, so then there was a space to hide in the middle. Well, I was trying to find my daughter, and I was really irritated. And I'm like, Alice, where are you? Where are you? And then she thought it was me, and I saw it right ahead of me. So me calling her name, she knew that I was close, and she thought this person walking by them was me. So she jumps out and she goes, ah, tries to scare him. And it was this older lady. And she's all, she freaked. She's like, oh. And my daughter, she felt super bad. And I started laughing. And and that's another thing too, is like when you're trying to discipline your child, yes, it's important to let them know that you're serious, but you also gotta like pick your battles and just learn to laugh at some of the stupid things that happen. That, for example. Also, one of the things, another, I look back and laugh at it. I was kind of annoyed by it when it happened. But we went to Walmart, and my daughter was maybe a year old when this happened. And she had a blowout diaper, and I got it all over me. I was wearing a white shirt, got all over. It was disgusting. I ended up throwing I took her off to the bathroom, and I wiped her off, and then wiped myself off. I actually had, took my shirt off, and I threw the shirt away because I'm like, I'm not taking this in the car with me. And then it was like on my face, and it was just disgusting. And and something else she used to do, when she was about a year old, she would just take her diaper, and so you're like lifting up her legs and you're doing the wiping thing, right? She would reach down, if I didn't move her diaper far enough away, she'd reach down, she'd throw her diaper, and so it'd land on me or land on the floor, and then I had to clean that up, and it was kind of frustrating. She also had this thing with like, and I know I'm talking a lot about like, doing number two, taking up, and so whenever she would take a bath, she would let one out, like a big old nasty one. Um, I don't know. If you have kids, does that happen to you? Maybe it was just unique to my daughter. I'm not sure. Um, and she used to think she was a cat too. And she would get into the cat treats and everything. It was something we had to deal with. Um, but we eventually got over that. Probably it took time. But she really loves cats, but she's not, she doesn't think she's a cat anymore. Thank goodness. So letting your child be themselves, and also laughing at the things that they do, the stupid and possibly annoying things that they do, um, Yeah, picking your battles. Is it your child is they've screamed through the store that they want you to buy them Pokemon cards. Tell them no, and then finally just gotta like ignore them. It's like it's not even worth trying to do this because they're just gonna scream. And what's really funny about that, I was super judgmental about parents that would just let their kids scream in the store. And I still actually sort of am. I guess there's certain times where it's okay, but anyway. So I used to be judgmental towards parents that just let their child scream in the store. Why are you letting your child do this? Like, get a handle on your child. Like, be a better parent, kind of thing. Um, but then now I had found myself, my daughter, she's screaming that I won't let her, crying her eyes out, screaming that I won't get her Pokemon cards and how awful I am and I'm this terrible parent. And it's just like I don't have the patience or temperament to deal with that at the moment, so I'm just going to ignore you. And eventually, I arrived at the conclusion that if you kind of feed into that emotion that your child is exhibiting, then it just encourages them to do it more. And especially after you tell them no, if you do change your mind, you give in, which I know can be hard. It's like following through with consequences and stuff. So, if you say no cookies after 7 o'clock because sugar stuff, whatever, and then they like beg you and they beg you and they beg you, and then you let them have like one cookie, an Oreo or something. That shows to them that you can be manipulated, and I think us as adults, we could realize that if we do something enough times to get what we want, we will eventually get the thing that we want. Um, so, gosh, that sounds bad. But it's true. I mean, it's like, come on, work the system. I don't know. So following through with discipline choices, and that goes to like what I was talking about at the very beginning of this video. Um, so yeah, some other funny things. We went to the zoo with it was with my niece. So me and my sister and her daughter, and then me and my daughter, we went to the zoo. And my daughter was super excited to go, and then she just got like all depressed for what seemed like no reason. And I'm like, come on, man, like, what's your problem? And what ended up happening was she just didn't want to have her picture taken. The little like wood cutout thing where it's like a polar bear and Santa Claus or something. So you have your face in the window, or the whole. She didn't. She just didn't want to have her picture taken. She wanted to stand in it, but she didn't want to have her picture taken. And there was another time something funny like that happened. There was like this work gathering kind of thing. Like we could bring our kids if we wanted to, and I had her with me that weekend, so it's like, yeah, come on. We don't have to like stay for a while or anything. Just go check it out, and we'll leave. And uh, so I, had her with me, holding her, and I'm like, hey, let's get a picture. And she's like, oh, I don't want a picture. I don't want a picture. And I'm like, oh, come on, just smile. And so she, so I'm holding the phone out here. She looks at it, she closes her eyes, and she sticks out her tongue. And I'm like, really? Can we just like have a good time? Well, that's, and that can be a really frustrating thing with kids too, that I totally get is, you try and do something really fun for them, like, we're gonna go out camping or we're gonna go play laser tag or something, and they just make it like absolutely miserable for you. They're a little punk the entire time, and they're not listening to you, and they're being rude to everybody, and it's like, trying to make this fun, and you excel at making it not fun. Like, come on. Especially when you take the day off of work to go do things with your child and then they're just causing problems for you. Yeah, that can be really frustrating. Something I've seen, well, so a good example of it would be when I was in college, there was this girl who she had done babysitting and then she had like three cats. And she said she was like trying to give me parenting advice. And she's like 4 years younger than me. And I'm just like, nothing you say is gonna matter to me. And I eventually ended up telling her that because I got so irritated, being like, it's great that you think you have parenting advice, but some of the things that you're telling me to do are just not right. And she said that her experience with cats and babysitting kids made her qualified to be a parent. And I was like, huh, I don't think really anybody's qualified to be a parent. I think we just go along for the ride. Um, it's not a certification you can get for that. Um, so yeah, she would try and give me all this advice. And now that I have a cat, and I've had to take care of that myself. My daughter, like I said, she loves cats, so I got us a cat, and I think there is some validity to the comparing it, taking care of a pet being like a child. However, I would say it's very different because my cat right now, she's out sleeping, and I don't care. And like I can go to the store and get some groceries and come back, and my cat will still be sleeping, or she'll come to the door and be meowing at me and want me to pet her, and or she'll come up and claw at my leg when I'm here at my desk, which is also super annoying. But the those particular things I would not do with my child, who's under the age of 18. So um, yeah, I don't think comparing cats or a dog, maybe a dog, uh, more so a dog, I guess, would be, eh, you gotta potty train them and all that stuff, and they like to cuddle. My daughter, we'll sit on the couch, we'll watch TV, and have my arm around her. We'll be eating about a bowl of popcorn, kind of thing, spending quality time together. But I do think that having a pet kind of would prepare you for some of the challenges that you're going to face as an adult. So, for example, if you're 18 or, heaven forbid, you're even younger than that, teenager, you have a child and you've never had the sole response, like it's your pet that you and only you take care of. I think there would be, and even again, I still think there would be some struggle. But I think the discipline that you would have, and accountability towards yourself, uh, it might not be there as much if you haven't had to take care of an animal. Like making sure it's fed and that it has a place to sleep and that you spend time with it and all those things. Like I would say it's kind of like a uh like entry level. So you have like level 1 is having a pet, not even like level point 0.5 is having a pet. Level 1 might be having like 3 plus pets. But then actually having a kid that you have to take care of, that's like level 6. So there's still like a big gap. Yeah, level 2, 3, 4, and 5 just don't exist. Um, so yeah, I've really enjoyed my time as a parent. It's definitely made me a better person. I feel like I interact with other adults better because of how I've had to learn to uh, interact with my daughter. And also, I think something that's kind of unfair, this is something I've experienced, is that other people look at you differently when you're a parent, which is there's pluses and minuses to that. I've unfortunately experienced more minuses from it. One of the big things is being cut out of social groups. And I will say there definitely is a difference having a conversation with someone who has a kid and someone who either doesn't want kids or doesn't have a kid, or both. Um, it's just not as easy to relate to them. You have very different struggles, which me, I kind of have a taste of both worlds because my daughter's only with me for a certain amount of time. So at the time where I'm, parenting, and then when my daughter's not here, I'm still a parent. If I get a phone call, my daughter needs to be picked up, or she needs, she's in the emergency room or something, like I get up and go. Whereas someone who doesn't have a child, they don't have to do that. So, so there's the times where my daughter is here, and then the times where she's not, and I get to be almost, bachelor lifestyle. I get to stay up late and play video games. I get to have unhealthy food and, just not really be responsible as much, I guess. Um, since I had my daughter at such a young age, I wouldn't say there's stuff I feel like I missed out on. It's just experiences that I didn't have, which I know kind of sounds like the same thing, but like going out to the bar and hanging out with friends. Like, never got to do that when I was younger, and I feel like that's probably a good thing, actually. I actually can't even drink alcohol to begin with, and that's because I have epilepsy. So that the alcohol would really mess with my brain and also my medication. So it's just something I've avoided. And then, yes, there is kind of the religious aspect of it. But overall, it's a personal choice. And, I would say 50% of it is um, because I am just not supposed to have it. And that's why I don't drink. There are epileptics that do drink in very moderately. Is that the right way? Very sparingly, I guess. Not very often. So instead of having like going out to the bar and having, like 3, 4 shots and then I'm done, they'll go out to the bar, have like one shot and be done. And I unfortunately do not have that level of discipline. I have frequently told people that if I drink Mountain Dew or if I drink alcohol, wait, hold on. Yeah, if what am I trying to say here? So if I drink alcohol, I would drink it the same way that I drink Mountain Dew. I absolutely love Mountain Dew. And I can be all like, oh, I'm getting off Mountain Dew and I'm never going to drink it again. And then a week later, I'm halfway through a 24 pack and it's, you know, so yeah, it's been a struggle trying to get off caffeine, um, or just soda in general, really. Caffeine is kind of a necessity when you're an adult, I feel like. Um, I know it's not for everybody. Anyway, so yeah, being responsible, the social interactions that I have with people, it's if I find out I'm talking to someone and I find out that they're either married or divorced or that they have a child, much easier to have conversations with them and relate to them certain things than if they're not. If they're single, never married, no kids. Um, so yeah, and like I was kind of getting at earlier, I do have the time where my daughter's not here, so I do get to live kind of more bachelor lifestyle. Have a date or something, um, which and that's fine. It is. I will say that I think that is a luxury that not many people get to have, and that I feel fortunate to, as much as it kind of, isn't great because I miss having my daughter. Like this week, I'm recording this on a Tuesday, but I haven't seen my daughter since last week, Wednesday. So yeah, that's kind of hard. But it's also kind of nice at the same time. But my daughter is also a very, like I had mentioned earlier, she's a very independent person, and she more so just needs to know that I'm there if she needs me. And which can be kind of detrimental to her because she doesn't always know when to ask for help. Um, and but and that's another thing I haven't mentioned yet is that uh, being getting to the point where you can just let your child suffer. I know it sounds bad, but let them make mistakes and have them learn from it, and not always come and be like, "Oh, let me do this for you," and "Oh, you're struggling with this. I'll just fix it for you." Like, no, your child should learn how to do certain things by themselves. And so, for example, I had mentioned the soup thing earlier. I have taught my daughter how to make soup because there were the times where I would work from home and I would have a meeting. I'd have meetings from 8 o'clock to 4:30, and I just like wouldn't have. It was incredibly difficult for me to step away, and so I taught my daughter like, okay, here's how you make a sandwich. Here's how you make some soup. If you want to mix up some lemonade, this is how you do it. This is what you use to mix things, and showing her how to do things. It's not necessarily from the standpoint of like, oh, I don't want to take care of you. You need to be able to do it yourself. Like, yes, they should be able to do it themselves because that's like a life skill. If she gets to be 25 and she doesn't even know how to heat up a can of soup, like, you know, it's not necessarily her problem at that point. It's something that I did wrong. And and that's another challenge that I've had too is that my daughter she likes to cook. She wants to learn how to cook more. And me having been a manager over a kitchen, uh that like, very involved in the kitchen, uh it's hard for me to when I start preparing food to really make that separation between okay, I'm at home with my child versus okay, we're in the store and we need to make this product perfect and we need to get it out the door. So I was like trying to teach her how to do something where there's not really a standard procedure. I mean, yeah, you have like mac and cheese where it's like, you have the directions on the box. It's it's difficult for me to accept her into the kitchen. I guess also because a kitchen is also a very dangerous place if you think about it. Um, like she could burn herself, or she could accidentally set something on fire, or there aren't as many safeguards as you would find inside of a restaurant, and also her being smaller and kitchen stuff generally being built for adult size. 5 feet over. That is something that's. I think I'll get there eventually. I actually really look forward to the day where I'm able to, say, "Hey, you want to make dinner tonight?" Yeah, sure. And she makes something amazing. I would love for that to happen. I think that, and this might sound whatever, but I think it is very important for her to learn to cook. Um, Not necessarily because like, oh, you need to be the woman that cooks for a man kind of thing. Not not because of that, but just because she needs to learn how to survive without me. Which, ultimately I think that's the job of a parent is to teach your child how to be an adult and how they can function without you. And that, yes, that's incredibly hard, and that's something that I feel like I will eventually be like, pat myself on the back. I did a good job. when she's like out at college, she has, or after college, she has her own apartment, she has a job, she's doing all whatever things. Like I think then I will feel like I've done a good job as a parent. She's not in and out of jail. She's not getting herself involved with drugs or anything. And yeah, parenting is definitely stressful. I don't think being a parent is the most difficult job in the world. Like a lot of people say, like so the saying um, that being a single mom is the hardest job in the world. I don't think that at all. Being a single parent is not the hardest job in the world. So I will say that I do think it's one of the more um, emotionally taxing, emotionally uh, of all the things that affect your self to your core, that affect your soul in life. Uh, Parenting is one of those, especially if you're the parent that cares. Um, and that's something that really breaks my heart too, as I've gotten older to learn about, is that there's some parents out there that just don't care about their kids. And there is the whole you need to have your child be more independent and learn how to do things by themselves. However, you I personally think that you still need to be there as like a guide through some of it. You're not holding their hand, but you are that guardian angel in a way. So not necessarily doing it for them, just kind of nudging them along, and where they get really stuck, that's where you help them. Um, because if you look at yourself as adults, like me personally, yes, I do have my parents that I can, if something really hits the fan, I feel confident that I can go to my parents for things. But if something's going wrong here at my apartment, it's me to figure it out because I'm an adult. Or like even at my job that I used to have, uh, like it was on me to figure stuff out, and nobody was going to do it for me. And I think that we find a lot of that in life, and I think a lot of adults can agree with me that it's up to us to figure out how to live our life. Um, yeah, let me know what you think of this whole. I feel like I just kind of talked. I was just talking. But parenting is something that I'm passionate about. Being a good parent, present for your child, just what the circumstance that I have. Um, I think that children are, they're the future of society. How if I was going to interact with an adult, how would I want or expect them to be like? A pleasant person who listens to what I have to say, and like an employee that I have, are they going to listen to direction that I give them? Will they be prompt about it? How will they? What's the interaction with them going to be like? And that's how I try and guide my child. I guess one thing I would really like to mention also is beliefs, and I'm dancing around this, I know, but forcing either political or religious beliefs down your child's throat. I have not done that, and from her mom's side, I think things have changed to where now it's again. I really don't want to get into it, and I could be wrong. I just might have the different perception from it, but I feel like her mom has come around to the same conclusion that I've led to, for the most part, that we should try and let our child make up their own mind about things. So, for example, there's YouTube and then there's YouTube Kids. And yes, there's some crazy stuff that can show up on YouTube. However, I think that our child, if they can be exposed to the world and they can see what's going on around them, they, especially once they're past a certain age, I know it's going to be different. The age will be different for boys and girls. Um, ha, I'll mention that one of my other videos too about the difference between teaching boys and girls. Something. Um, so yeah, letting them experience the world around them. And what's something that I think is really interesting is that my daughter's teachers have said on several occasions how impressed they are that our daughter is the only one of the kids in the class that's very aware of things that are going on in the world. And I have very frequent conversations with my daughter about world events. So, like, conflicts that are going on, political things that are going on. And I believe I mentioned this earlier. Just like teaching, I think this helps, letting your child make up their own mind. It helps them learn to be tolerant of certain things. I have my leanings and beliefs, and there's definitely some influences that she gets from her mom, uh, which is okay. And me and my daughter are mostly on the same page with things, and there have been times where I've had to be like, "Hey, I understand you might feel that way, but you don't need to talk like that." Like, you got to know your audience, kind of thing, and uh, and that I guess that also kind of goes with this too. Is that, and I think I might have mentioned this earlier, is that you have to, at least something that's worked for me, is having my child feel like she can talk to me. Like, she's having an issue with something, she has a question about something, something at school is bothering her, something with her friends is bothering her, that she can feel safe in coming to me with whatever it is. I'm there for her. It's my duty and responsibility to provide for her emotional support. So that's what I do. Thanks for coming and listening. If you're not subscribed already, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and then also, if you're really feeling up to it, go support me on Patreon. Link is in the description.